When I was very young, I was told that people actually hate you for two reasons. Yes, I'd like to use the strong word hate. They hate you for two reasons. When? Number one, they want to be like you, but they can never be as good as you. And number two, when they've got a threat from you. And in such situations, people end up insulting you or being rude to you. Has it ever happened to you that somebody is unnecessarily insulting you or is being rude to you? Well, in that case, today's lesson is for you. Hi everyone, my name is Radhan and I welcome you to Skillopedia, the place where you learn skills for the real world. In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about how to respond to insults. When somebody insults you, what is the right way to respond to them? So let's get started. Number one important thing that we need to understand is natural reaction when somebody insults you is getting aggressive, isn't it? All of us do that. I've done it. Most of us have done it as well. You take it personally. You take things and that insult personally without basically understanding why is it being said, the purpose of it. If the purpose is well understood, you may as well change the way you react to those situations. You want to get back at them. You want to immediately say something so that, the rest of the audience that is watching may as well feel that you're not somebody who is weak. So you want to get back at the person with something quick. But then that's where the cycle of negativity begins and it becomes a never-ending process. You too raise your volume and you indulge into abusive, manners and abusive language. And as we said, that negativity, keeps on rolling and keeps on multiplying. And therefore, we lose ourselves, we lose our own face, and we are not able to give our best shot as a character, as a personality. Then what should we do in that situation? Please remember, if you do not know what to say or do when someone insults you, then this is what we're going to be looking at now. We're going to be looking at 6 tips that we can make use of in our daily life when somebody insults you. Number 1 is, do you react with anger? Because sometimes you want to show that you're powerful and you don't want to come across as weak. So what do? Do you react with anger? Let's understand it better. Anger is emotion. It's obvious to feel vulnerable. It's absolutely all right to feel angry. In this session, we're not going to be talking about not feeling angry, because I know everybody says that. But we are humans after all. But how you handle that anger, the sentences that you say, the way you deal with it is extremely important. The way you portray your emotions on the face may as well just communicate that you're angry and the fact that you do not want to indulge in the conversation with that one person. You show that insults are getting at you. A lot of times people actually become angry when they take things personally during the insult, and you show that insults are getting at you. That means they are impacting you. But it's important also that it clouds your thinking capacity. Clouds means it fades the right ways of thinking. Yeah. Therefore, it's very important that we remove all of that for us to be able to think clearly through that negative situation. And it only makes things worse. When angrily we react immediately on spur of the moment, it only makes situations worse. And therefore, it's important you feel angry because we are human beings. It's absolutely all right. But the important thing in the end of the situation, in the end of the day, is how do you shape that anger? Do you come back at the person with the same abuse and same volume? Or do you switch to another character altogether? You wait to get back at the person at the right space and at the right time. Number 2, think logically. If you react in a certain way, how is the situation going to help you? Or if you react in certain another way, how is the situation going to help you and the other person and the people watching around you too? So be extremely logical beyond reaction, immediate reactions. Try to be very logical. There might be a better purpose, yeah? And they want to see positive changes in you. Sometimes people do not intend to insult us, but they love us so much that they end up being aggressive to give us feedback. So sometimes the purpose may just be good and we are just unnecessarily taking it personally. And sometimes that particular feedback may as well bring positive changes in us. So it's important that we think logically in those situations. Is that insult meant to give us genuine feedback and the fact that we should take it positively? Or is that meant for us to make us feel weak? It's important that you find that clear line between a constructive feedback and an insult. So do not take any constructive feedback as an insult because that would hamper your progress. Sometimes criticism acts like a favor or acts like favors. It's important that we understand that we take that with a grain of salt and make relevant changes in ourselves. And finally, they highlight your weaknesses. And based on those points of weaknesses, you can work on to make it better. So sometimes logically thinking is very important. Not every feedback is an insult. It may just help us to improve and make us better. So always be open to listening to different sorts of feedback. But of course, categorizing them smartly is very important. Ignore them. So what do? Should you ignore them? Some people have tendency to insult with realizing the fact that they are in fact insulting you. So it's always a good idea sometimes to just ignore all of that and continue doing your work. You could just simply ignore the person by just giving them a look, as simple as that. For example, somebody just said something. For example, your hairstyle doesn't look good. And you're like, you continue doing your own work. You do not even comment on it. Sometimes it is in itself very, very classy and sophisticated. Sometimes it's not worth to respond as well. Because when you do not respond, the people who are watching, the audience and the person who's insulted, may feel very, very bad because it's not worth your attention. You're just moving on. You're just ignoring it. They don't deserve your time and attention. So you simply ignore them at times. This could be one of the ways of dealing with it. Please remember, number 1, number 2, and number 3. Number 3, ignore the insults. Number 2 was categorize them. Was that a feedback or was that genuinely meant to hurt you? And let's quickly move to the next one. Is it really insult? Before you counterattack, just breathe. It's very important that you try to analyze the situation. What is the cause of it? Why is the person saying what the person is saying? And if there's any bit of feedback attached to it, respond to it in a better way. Is it your mindset that persuades you to think? It's totally the way you think about it, you deal with it, your attitude that really shapes the way you deal with that insult. A funny comment or joke on you is not an insult. It's just pun intended. A lot of times friends do that. So what do? Sometimes you just laugh on it. One of the most interesting things that you can do is just laugh it off. Somebody says, your hairstyle looks bad. You're like, well, I'm not a hairstylist at all. So you simply laugh it off and you move on. So realize it in the end of the day. Is it just pun intended or is it really an insult eventually? Read the tone before you react. In what tone did the person say that? Was it a limerick? Was it a joke? Or was it meant to hurt? That's very, very important. Second last is maintain your composure and attitude. Your positive attitude shapes your reality. So maintain a positive attitude and put yourself in the right composure. It's difficult when you're filled with ideas of paying back. It basically means it's very difficult when you're full of ideas, you know how to react to the person and you still hold yourself back. It's very difficult to do so. But only very sophisticated people are able to do that because they wait for the right space and the right time in order to come back to the person. Words don't stick you. It's only making their tongue bitter. It's very important. The bad things that they talk about you reflect a lot about their personalities than of your own. So it's very important that you realize that words are not sticking to you. Sometimes if people, use curse words for each other, you do not stick those words to you. Rather, you understand that it may as well be just the way they talk and they communicate, and you continue doing your work. And you tell them by the method of your ignorance that you're not somebody who's going to pay heed and importance to that sort of discussion and style of communication. And finally, Your reaction acts as a fuel and you're trapped. The moment you react, it's like adding fuel to fire. It just aggravates the situation, and the two parties immediately are in a verbal dispute and are in a fight together. And therefore, it's important. Do you ignore it? Do you see it as a positive feedback? Or do you choose to counter back with an important argument? Which is what we're going to be looking at in the last tip. Tell them to back off. Back off means to ask them to take a step back. But a lot of times people are not able to think on spur of the moment what to say to your opponent. In that case, you can watch this video, the link is attached, that will tell you 20 ways of coming back. 20 ways of coming back to an insult. When it's too much, ask them to step back. Just very clearly communicate that you're not comfortable with the way they are talking and they should step back. Number 2, explain you're not okay with it. A lot of times when people do not communicate their emotions, that's when a lot of things are in ambiguity. But the moment you say that you are uncomfortable with that communication style, the person automatically gets the cue that the situation is not going in the right direction and they may as well just back off. It's all about communicating how you feel. That changes the entire ballgame of the discussion. Block them completely. Do not give any importance to them. Do not be associated with them. Do not involve them on your Instagram or your Facebook or your personal contacts. Just block them completely out of your life. Sometimes that acts as a very important solution as well. So ladies and gentlemen, this was all about how you can deal with insults the next time when somebody hurls it at you. I hope you found this session useful. The next time when you have somebody insulting you, make sure that you either find it as a feedback, you observe the tonality of it, and you come back to the person and ask them to back off, or you just simply ignore them, block them. Thank you very much for being with me. Take care, and let's make this world a better and positive place for all of us by not insulting each other. Thank you.